Oh, hello, you wrong'uns. Welcome to Live 141 of the Theatre of the Mind. Wednesday evening, always good. I will get to your comments in just a moment, but lots to talk about. Mostly about the ineptitude of those clowns in the Pink Palace in London. But we will talk about it because it's interesting. We may go off on a tangent and talk about how they manage the news. And I've just been sat back watching it. Obviously, you're not aware of this. You might be aware of my radio background, but you're not aware of my PR background. I worked in London for a while in PR. So get the game, understand the game, know a little bit about the game, but what they're up to is just evil. I can't use any other word to describe it, but it's bloody evil. And one of the data points that came out from YouTube, because they give creators all this background information. Do you know that 47% of the viewers of this channel watch it on their big TV, not on their phone, not on their iPad or whatever? It's always, hang on, let me just, that's better. I look a bit crooked. 47%, nearly half of everybody that watches anything that I do on YouTube watches me on the big telly, you perverts. Paulie Galtieri's in the house. Good evening, Adrian. Yeah, utter wrongin'. Hope you've had a good day. Paulie, it's been interesting. It has been interesting. We've been looking after one of the family. Had to go and do some things and had to look after some stuff. And I do send my love and best wishes always to my mate Tony. But we looked after their dogs today. So it is, do you know, dogs do change the way a home feels. And there's just a couple of little uns that came into the house, caused absolute uproar. But when they left, they were only here for the day. When they left, there was just kind of a couple of little energetical holes left in the house, and we're missing them already. So today's been a fabulous day. We've had doggy guests, and we've loved every single minute of it. Fabuloso. Andy Turner, will it be unicorns and fluffy kittens tonight? Andy, behave, man. Since when have I done fluffy kittens? You're wrong. Stuart, evening, Rev. Nothing gets past the bishop. Yeah, past the bishop, not bash the bishop. Can't even bloody say it. He's noticed since I start making your hibiscus. Stuart, have you just dropped me a little livener into the hibiscus? I did go to my dealer the other day and said, oi, 2025. You got any hibiscus? And they went, oh, you'll have to come back in a couple of days. Our dealer hasn't delivered. So waiting for the dealer to deliver to the dealer who's going to deliver to me. Seemingly. But we're not going to run out just yet. But hibiscus is nectar of the gods. And I'll guarantee you. Somebody said to me the other day, here, Adrian, where do you sell those mugs of yours? Do you want them? Would you like to sit and watch a live with an utter wrong'un mug? Leave it with me. Oh, Stuart, you're wrong. Yeah, the Rev's been, the Bishop has been on to Stuart about since he started putting the Jaeger bombs in the hibiscus. You've been a bit sweary and ranty, and now you're doing longer sermons. He said he'll catch me out eventually. He's lost it. Just be careful he doesn't try to pass you off with a bishop's finger. I've seen him with his bishop's finger. He wouldn't give me any. Tart. And I'm just doing the introductions while we, blimey. Hang on. Oh, it's the adrenaline. So I'll wait till everybody gets their feet under the table. So I introduce a few people that might be early on, and make sure there's plenty of room. Make sure there's pew room. Pew, Barley McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble and Grub. Matron. Karen Boo says, good evening, Rev, and all. Hope all you wrong'uns are well, loving the lives. Thank you, Karen Boo. Me too. Oh, we've definitely got Ranty Rolex. because you can't say bollocks, can you? Because the bishop will be at Stuart again, thinking it's the Jaeger bombs that's making me potty mouth. Ranty Rollicks returns. I'll give you what we're going to talk about this evening, because I don't know about you, I just sit there watching the news going, hard away and shite, man. They're just making it up as they go along. And it feels so long ago because it's been a very busy day, but I watched PMQs today. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, politicians wouldn't pee on them if they were on fire. Thank you, Karen. Wow, I'm really early and up the front. Up the front? Karen Boo, what can I say? You're making me blush. Andrew James, Dickie Reeves will be doing a tax audit on the Kirk in April. She can go and foxtrot Oscar. She's not getting in here. She's not being a good girl all year. In fact, she's trashing the economy. So she can harrow in shite. She's not coming in here. Only the blessed and the good of heart are allowed in the body of this Kirk. Tom Harneys is in the body of the Kirk tonight. Tom, welcome. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. I'm only here for the beer and cake. Oh, you're just a naughty Battenberger, Tom Harneys. Bovril is, good evening, everyone. Inflation down by 0.1%. How the bloody hell did they manipulate that? I mean, I can't work it out. They must have extra, because you and I both know that MPs love a little extra. And how did they get inflation down when inflation is government spending? I have no idea either. But that bloody Rachel from accounts still gets on the front bench. Oh, she sits there and smirks. She's definitely a smirker. But the Bovril, welcome. Rachel from accounts survives for another month. The Bovril, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Israel Hamas, just another case of peace for a short time. No. As I've mentioned many times on these lives, what you have to look at is not what they're saying, but the timing. We're going to talk about that. A bit inconvenient truths. We're going to talk about a little bit later. Where the Bovril, welcome into the body of the Kirk. Jules D. Evening. Yeah, wrongin'. I wonder if the moderator will be more chilled tonight. Yeah, definitely. Lord Togger of the 69. Evening, Adrian, and all you otter roggins. Andrew James. I say, Andrew. Togger 69, sit next to me. We can have a chatter at the back of the Kirk. Oh, the bad boys at the back. Yeah, the wrong'uns always sit at the back of the class, so teacher can't see them. But you see these? X-ray vision, I can see through everything. Kathy Hartwell, Johnny Ray, another wrong'un enters the body of the Kirk. Johnny Ray with a swagger, young sir, as everybody goes, bloody hell, who's left the door open? It's flipping freezing. Shut that door. Matron. Kathy Harper, evening all. Evening, Kathy, wrong'un. Peter Sadler, evening, Adrian and chat. Evening, Peter. Yeah, utter wrong'un. Garen Davis, good evening. Evening, Garen. Ray Norton, evening all. I thought you were a little earlier. Brit 2014 UK. Good evening, everyone. Brit, welcome to the body of the Kirk. There should be a space for you. There's definitely plenty of altar wine. I sent the choir boys out, obviously the one that's over 18, to buy the altar wine a little earlier. So it's been corked. It's been left to breathe. So if you want altar wine, go for it. And there's some Battenberg, just in case. You need to take the smell of the altar wine off your breath before you go home, in case anybody just turns around and goes, I thought you were going to the body of the Kirk tonight. I was. How comes there's alcohol on your breath then? It's the Reverend. He leads us all astray. Every time. Yorkshire Steve. Hi, Adrian and all. Evening, Yorkshire Steve. And Stuart, I watch on me phone. Do you, Stuart? Wow. Well, you're one of the 53% that doesn't watch it on the big telly. I'm just telling you, because I just didn't. Because sometimes I'm like here when I'm doing me stuff, and I'm thinking, my ugly fizzog that close to the telly, there'll be people going, oh no, get back, you wrong'un, get back. So it's fine. I'll keep this face for radio away from the big screen as much as I can. Louise Sampson, evening all wrong'uns. Evening, Louise. Welcome. I think there's a couple of spaces down there near the front if you want. You say Yorkshire Steve. He's watching on the big TV. Marge Reed, evening Adrian. I hope all is well. Yeah, as I said a little earlier, we were dog sitting today and had, honestly, they're just fabulous. Just little chilled doggies, Cabernet Sauvignon, no, Biche Frison or something fancy like that. They're just little cuddly, fluffy things, and they're dead chilled. Gave them a bit of Reiki, just knocks them out, and we just love having them, helping the family out. It is a big match tonight, North London derby. I do have some Spurs supporters and Arsenal supporters in the extended family. I do wish them well. Whew. Tough one. Ray Norton, big projector screen here. Wow, posh Ray. And Brit 2014 UK is also watching on the TV. So welcome to everyone to the Body of the Cook if you're watching on the big TV. If you're not, like Stuart, you're watching on your phone. That's as good as ever. Hang on. I haven't coughed once all day. I start this live, that bloody cough starts. Anyway, welcome everybody into the Body of the Cook. I think most people have got their feet under the table now with a little snifter. Technically, the altar wine is for you to, it's God's body and God's blood, seemingly. It is slightly red. But I thought God didn't have blood. I thought God was omnipresent and didn't have a human frailty. Anyway, anything that the Catholic Church invents, bless them. So altar wine is there. Don't drink too much if you're driving home afterwards. Give it. I can't encourage you to drink anything because you know what Starmer's thought police are like. I'll say, enjoy the altar wine. And they'll turn around and go, were you encouraging people to drive home after your sermon, Reverend? After having altar wine. That will be the non-alcoholic version of the altar wine. Dear Lord. It's not like, the Rozzers don't drink much. So, next live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Body of the Cook. Thank you for all your salutations and welcomings. Where's the Wookfit gone? Oi, stop slagging off our Rachel. She didn't make it to accounts. It's Rachel from Complaints. That is actually bob on, Mr. Wookfit. It is Rachel from Complaints, not accounts. That's why the bloody economy is in such a bad way. Anyway, I can take these off. You're not getting the reflections from my lighting, Mr. DeMille. So thank you to everyone. Can't stand Reeve, says Louise Sampson. I don't think there's many people in this country that can stand that. I mean, has anybody told her when the cameras are on in the Houses of Commons, put a bit of foundation on and stop showing us those dark circles? You know, the 22 billion black holes. I can see the 2 black holes either side of her nose every time she's on the bloody TV. She's gone, though. She's gone. We are going to talk about PMQs earlier, if I've made enough notes. Primarily because the Office of Budget Responsibility have turned around and gone, no such thing as a 22 billion pound black hole. Tell Starmer, Mahama, it doesn't exist. Because he did it again. Yeah, we inherited a 22 billion black hole. No, you didn't. We know you're a liar, Kia. We know. Because you've lied before you were elected and after you were elected, and you're flogging stuff off, which is not yours to flog. Paulie Alieri, Rachel's hairstyle is ridiculous too. It looks like a basset hound. There's a few things that she looks like. I mean, back in the day, Star Wars Lego. She looks like a Stormtrooper helmet. I've got me Bobby's helmet. She's got a Stormtrooper helmet. Make your own gags up. That's the best I've got. So, next live, Sunday, 8 o'clock, as ever. Live 142, 8 o'clock on Sunday. So, welcome all. I'd like to welcome the legendary Battenbergers at the beginning of every live. So Nicola Sturgeon. Sorry, it's just a little alert that's come on my phone. So, Nicola Sturgeon. You know Nicola Sturgeon? The one that looks like Jimmy Cranky and is more masculine than a load of blokes in Scotland? Yeah, her. Never had kids, surprisingly. Wonder why. But she's split from her husband. It's a terrible thing. Right, whose career is that to save? She's not coming back. I mean, Big Eck didn't come back. He died. Heart attack. Not unusual. Jibber jabber. And that's a Tom Jones song, by the way. It's not unusual before you start. So she's like, all right, I'm not doing anything with my husband now. No. He's going to court for all the stuff. And, I'm not. I'm divorcing him. Anybody want to buy a people carrier? Hardly used. Mostly parked on a driveway of a very average house in Scotland. 100 grand retail. You can have it for 10 grand. If I can... if I can twock the ignition barrel. But a couple of legendary Battenbergers that I always like to say thank you to at the beginning of the lives. Thank you to Stuart, who said, Rev, congratulations on 9k subs. I know, who would have thought? But thank you, Stuart. Thank you for your support of the channel, as ever. And yes, we were really, really happy getting 9,000 subs. As I said on the last live, it never ceases to amaze me. I only started this off as a, we'll wait and see where it goes, and we'll give it 6 months, and if it don't go anywhere, it don't go anywhere. And then, blimey. So 2 years later, 9,000 subs later, and look, it might not be as big as some channels, but do you know something? It's got integrity. I'll tell you that. Because there will be stuff that I've put out in these lives that in 6 months' time you go, oh, he said that. He said that 6 months ago. Because that's what it's about. If you're quick enough and sharp enough, there's little things, little Easter eggs that I drop in so that in 6 months' time you can watch this live again and you go, oh, didn't catch that. He said that. So just in case anyone is trying to get a grasp of life and the universe and everything, just point them in this channel's direction. Sometimes we'll have a bit of a giggle. Sometimes we'll have a quiz. Sometimes it'll be so left field, not left wing, left field, that you think, oh, I've quite enjoyed that. Is he going to rant again? And then sure enough, a rant comes along. So we're going to do ranty bollocks tonight. Other legendary Battenbergers, Johnny Ray, thank you. Johnny, I do appreciate it. Thanks, Rev. 9,000 subs. My favourite channel too. Oh, you smooth talker. Johnny, thank you. And Jackie Glasgow, another good one. Yeah, well, you're a wrong one, Jackie. The last live might have been a good one. Oh, we're all wrong uns together. So thank you to the legendary Battenbergers. The sermon tonight will include the Royals, lies or untruths. Because I'm a little confused, me. I'm not the brightest. I mean, you could say to me, you could offer me 2 shovels and say, take your pick. And I'll be like, what do you mean? So I want to know about the Royals. Because I know they're taking the mickey. I know where Charlie might be next week. Well, I definitely know on the 27th because it's Holocaust Remembrance Day. And it's National Holocaust Day on January 27th. Me birthday, but I know where Charles the Week is going to be. Auschwitz. So let me tell you something. If he's a WEF puppet, there's every chance he's not sitting at the top, and he might be in WEF next week, and then off to Auschwitz. Never been. It is my intention to go and treated with every reverence. I went to Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, which is a museum to commemorate the awful atrocities that were perpetrated on many different peoples in the Second World War. It's not just one peoples. I know 6 million Jews were exterminated. I've been to Rome and done a tour of Rome where they've got plaques in the floor to say that so-and-so was taken from this house and on such and such a date and taken to the extermination camps. I know that there were millions upon millions upon millions, maybe as many as 5 million gypsies, or travellers, if you will, that were also exterminated by the evil that just spread its wings across Europe. And then there's the Russians. They seemingly lost 10 million fighting the Germans. So it was a horrible, horrible, horrible war, and hopefully mankind will not see the likes again. But that's just me off on a tangent with Charles the Week. We'll get to him a little bit later. We're going to talk about WEF. That's the World Economic Forum to you and I, because it's absolutely scuppered people attending WEF, because the great and the good want to be in America. They want to be in Washington, D.C. this weekend for all the parties. I mean, if you look at who are we sending? We'll talk about that, because we're not sending the bloody Prime Minister. Normally, if a royal goes, then the Prime Minister doesn't have to go. But if the royal's not going, because they're either at WEF or Auschwitz or wherever they're going next week, then it's normally the Prime Minister. And, well, two-tier gear. The free gear Keir, he's definitely taken or would love to have taken a free flight across to Washington, D.C. and then rub shoulders with people he's not good enough to shine the shoes of. He would have loved that. Oh, absolutely. But then again, is free gear Keir AI? Because if you look at him, he's got there's no flow, no fluidity to him. There's nothing going for him at all. I mean, I'm sure he uses his personality as contraception. And he's got 2 kids. At least. So, Starmer, I swear, is it Botox or is it Memorex? His face don't move. He's got nothing. He's not, he kind of, well, I think he's Max Headroom. So we're going to talk about WEF. We're going to talk about pubs. I mean, honestly, there are some subjects that just kind of percolate up in the news cycle, and it's like taking a kick in the bollocks. Technical term, of course, and you just think, oh, what you done that for, man? Because we know that the Marxists have got no sense of humour. They've got no jokes. They've got no fun. And if you're going to have fun, they're going to stop that. They're going to scrap that. So just going down to the pub for a couple of large ones and seeing your mates, or I don't know, pretty barmaid, or the owner that you're getting on well with. Just have a couple of large ones. And hang on, she had a frying pan. Talk of 69. Oh, I say. I mean, I'm a very open-minded person, but what on earth are you talking about? Des Ashton's in the body of the Kirk reminds me of Marvin, the paranoid android. Don't talk to me about life. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There was a telly, but the radio was even better. Theatre of the Mind. If you ever get chance, do listen to the BBC's version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But the BBC's shite. Nowadays, of course. Terry Wuckfit. It's Retro in the body of the Kirk. Good to see you, Retro. Thank you for being here. No words, just a cold metal feeling when I came round. Oh, bless you. So we're going to talk about... have you seen this... well, the only word that I can describe her is slut. Now, in 2025, some people go, oh, Adrian, that's misogyny. Well, I can't get to grips with Gen Z and their principles because they don't have any. And this tart, Bonnie Blue, we'll talk about her body count. Is it the money? Or is it she just can't get enough? We're going to talk about Starmer, of course, in many different ways. We're going to talk about the IRA, about what's coming out today. We're going to talk Ranty Bollocks makes a return. So we'll kind of start with Gen Z, because I know I'm old enough to be at least one generation removed from them. You're wrongin'. I'm only 25. Long paper round. So, Alan, Jerry Adams, what a melt. Yeah, we're going to get to that. So I just want to get a kind of contextual understanding of Gen Z. They've got no backbone. They've got no drive. They've got nothing except the women. Now, if it had been a young woman in my time, this wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened. Mind you, we didn't have OnlyFans when I was in my teens and 20s. We just had me mum and others selling Avon. Not a man from Uncle badge on OnlyFans. But seemingly, she held, if you go across to X, Twitter, it's all on there. I'm quite a prolific poster on there. But I do like a bit of a mathematical challenge. And Betty Blue, I don't know how to describe it. Oh, you beauty. I don't know how to describe it, but she was run through. That's the Gen Z term that they use nowadays. She was run through by 1,057 mugs. We had Auntie Val, who always left the curtains open when changing. Wunderbar. Did you just sneak into her in through her back door, Mr. Wookfit? I see your Auntie Val changing. But so she's been run through by 1,057 men in 12 hours. Do you know that's 41 seconds each? I mean, I take my hat off to them if they can last 41 seconds. I'm taking the mickey before you start. And I thought, is it Gen Z? I think I can encapsulate Gen Z in this way. It's how they get their validation. It's all external. All of it's external. But they'll learn eventually that it's all internal. All the answers are internal, they're never external. And so she's 41 seconds each. I mean, blimey. Foreplay's supposed to last at least that. That's FORE, not FOUR. Mind you, at a 1,057 in 12 hours. And it must be, because here's the kicker. She's making about 600 grand a month. I mean, there was another OnlyFans model, that's what they call them, who did about 50 videos. No, sorry. She made about 60 million in a few months just putting, how do you make 60 million quid? With no morals. And they're all, well, she's making 600 grand a month. So now that she's been run through, like a dad and son. Now, I kind of, honestly, I just sit with things and try to just wonder and work out whether, brilliant, Cuban Pete, no, stop it. That actually made me laugh. Cuban Pete reckons that Starmer was the fluffer. If you know what he's talking about, you know how funny that is. Soul Rebel, was her mum the fluffer? We've got some knowledgeable gentlemen in the body of the Kirk this evening. They don't now, just take Viagra. But 41 seconds. And one of them was like a dad and his son. And she's like, oh, yeah, it was just something for the dad and son together. Just something for the dad and son to do together. What the bloody hell? If my dad said to me, yeah, Adrian, I mean, he's dead now, so he's definitely stiff. If he said to me, have you heard of this bird, Bunny Blue? Yeah, shall we go and double team her? I'd be like, Dad, no. Look, we might be adult men, but how here, man? There's certain things that I'm not doing in the same room as you by a country mile. And anyway, I love me mum. So it's got to be the money. It literally has to be. She sees, or at least 1,057 saw the goal. It was wide open. And they just went for it. Alan, why would she need fluffing off? The fluffers are not for her. The 1,057. I mean, didn't they get performance anxiety? I mean, can you imagine the conversation outside the door where she was getting teams of 5? Not that I've studied this at all. It's just, I'm looking at... I'm just looking at the conversation around it because I literally cannot comprehend what is going through her head. I know what's going through everywhere else, but I don't know what's going through her head. And maybe there are people around her going, 600 grand. By the time we've done a year of this, we'll have made nearly over 7 million pounds. And I get that it sets people up for the rest of their lives, but I just don't understand how Gen Z get their validation. Whether it's recreational gear, it's not normally alcohol nowadays, but it's being run through by thousands. So there's the other one that it's like they're doing a tag team. Maybe they should go on WWE. That'll be an interesting round or 3. And they're trying to outdo each other. So now one's done 1,057 in 12 hours. You know that the other one that's kind of doing this sort of thing, she's going to do 1,000 in 15 hours, and then she'll come back, pun intended, and she'll do like, I don't know, 2,000 men in 24 hours, and they'll just keep going. There's the Houston 500. We thought that was right out there. These two, yeah, don't give it flying. I mean, friction burns, anyone? And can you imagine being 1,057? You wouldn't tell them, would you? You would just go, oh, she's as fresh as a daisy. She's just been plucked. I said plucked. She's just been plucked. Yes, go on, go in there. And she was getting them at 5 a time. Yes, you 5, next. You 5, next. I mean, every 5 minutes there was 5 going in. I just wouldn't touch her with a bloody barge pole. I have certain principles. And so Rich says, that's a lot of chafage, I know. But she'll have all this money in a year's time to sort of disappear off. But by the time you've had all this attention for a year, that's going to seep into your soul. That is really going to mess with your noodle big time. Oh, I can remember some of them. Oh, good luck with that. I see you, says, a fluffer as a hairdresser. Well done. Bring your hairdryer. Old-fashioned maybe, but have these people, both sexes, have no pride, morality, says Lauren Taylor. I agree, Lauren. But that's what I'm saying. Gen Z, they get their validation externally. They get it from whatever's going on in life. And they're now Gen Z and now Gen Alpha, because Gen Z finished 2024. So 2025, this year, it's going to be Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha. The Alpha? Really? No. Weak as. They're being validated externally, which is online, which is social media, and it's almost like I'm waiting for, because Black Mirror is going to have a new series in 2025. I'm waiting for Black Mirror to come out and go, oh, here's Bonnie Red, and she's had 3,000 men in 24 hours. And then there's this decrepit skeleton in shot. So maybe Black Mirror is going to do it, but it does feel like it's an episode of Black Mirror. There's going to be a twist at some point. And if these two women can sort of outdo and outplay each other, but are making £500,000 or more than £500,000 a month, 6 million quid a year, you do it for 1 year and then that's that. Until, which man would marry them? And what would he marry them for? Would he marry them at all? Would it be for the money? Or would it be for the body count? Because I don't know about you. I'm sure you're the same as me. You get into relationships and you kind of have those initial conversations about what you've done and where have you been. I'm not going into mine. And you have those conversations. So is Bonnie Blue and the other girl going to sit down, their paramour, their love, their one and only? They're going to sit them down and go, oh yeah, well, I've had about 20,000 blokes. That guy run for the hills, unless he's a pervert, of course. It might be a girl, you know. She might get so sick of ye old cock fosters that she might, because it's been known a bit like Marvin Gaye, and I don't know whether you know about Teddy Pendergrass. Marvin Gaye and Teddy Pendergrass had so many women throwing themselves at them that they literally didn't want to have sex with women anymore. That's why they Marvin became a cross-dresser according to his biography and his dad, and was getting into other stuff, as was Teddy Pendergrass. Seemingly he was, when he crashed his car, he was, there was chick with a dick was going, hello, can I speak to me mum, me dad, and everybody else that knows me. It's an old radio gag, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So, love TKO, great song. Agree, Rich. You're my greatest inspiration. That's a song. I mean, he had a manager that they nicknamed Ubermensch. He was just such a nice guy. But Teddy Pendergrass, what a voice. Well, I mean, just what a voice. But, you know, how are they going to get the kicks? if you're a rock and roll star, or you're a guy that women just throw themselves at because you're either a famous, or you're doing that kind of stuff, women don't ask about your body count. But when the roles are reversed and it's a famous woman of sorts, and I would suggest that Bonnie Blue's now got a bit of infamy from Gen Z, how's she going to have that conversation unless somebody knows her, thinks she's beautiful, thinks that she's a bit of a catch because she's got tons of money? I don't know. And it's not for me to get. It's not my generation. It's not for me to understand or get any kind of context. But Marvin Gaye's dad was the cross-dresser. Paulie, yes, but it was his dad that shot him, wasn't it? Because he... I've got the... God, I read it years ago. I've got his autobiography. And I don't think I've got it quickly to hand. And Marvin was... his dad had seen Marvin turning into the cross-dresser, was turning into what his dad was. And his dad didn't like that. And that's why his dad shot him. But there's a... Alan says she doesn't care. I know, but we've seen a bit of life collectively. There must be thousands of years worth of life having flowed through our veins, and we get it. We get that things have a price to pay, and somebody who's had 1,057 men, 41 seconds each, in 12 hours. There is a price to pay for that. She doesn't know it yet. She's looking at the Benjamin. She's thinking, wow, I've made over £1 million. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I'll be able to buy this and that and handbags and shoes. When she's walking like John Wayne, not a great look. But Alan's right. They don't care. They literally don't care. It's Gen Z. They can do whatever they want. But you and I both know that the powers that be, the people in the shadows above that are pulling the strings, they get these, I can only describe them as floozies. I mean, there's like some proper, and again, this is going to sound misogyny or misogynistic, and I don't mean it to be, but, you know, when a man has money and has a certain standing, then a man will attract a certain standing of woman. But there's some of the council estate girls who think that they want a man of high worth. Not going to happen in a month of Sundays. And then when somebody's body count goes into the thousands, that's not going to happen either. Because we men are such simple creatures. But then again, Gen Z, male, want to run through Bonnie Blue for 41 seconds. So they've got bragging rights to the lads. How was it? Don't know. There's a ton of gags there, but I am being all serious. We'll move on to the ranty bollocks in just a moment, but I fear for the youth, because while they're being distracted by social media and external validation, they're just putting things in place that they're not going to have any freedoms. They're not going to be able to do that. And eventually, they will release something into society that will stop them from stuff. I mean, in the 80s, we all thought we were going to die from AIDS. Remember those TV adverts? But there's nothing to stop Gen Z. There's nothing to instruct Gen Z, because you and I, if we were to give her any advice or guidance, it would come from our own experience. We might have a load of experience, but can you imagine saying to someone who's been run through by nearly 1,100 men in 12 hours? I think that's a bit excessive. No, made 600 grand this month from OF. And both men and women think that OnlyFans is a badge of honour. Maybe I'm just a grumpy old tart, a cynical old tart, who is not of this moment, this time, and just let the kids find their own way. But eventually, Gen Z is going to come to their... I mean, she's possibly got daddy issues. Don't know. Who knows? But they'll come to us looking for guidance when they've already ruined it. There's so much. Look, this is the ketamine generation. And I certainly know I can't talk about that on any other way than the lives. It's the ketamine generation, Special K. They're all at it, and it's ruining them. Some of the Hollywood stars. There are some stars that have died in their home pools, shall we call it. And they're on it all the time. And I genuinely feel sorry for this generation that are getting their validation externally. They don't know what life's about. They have no clue. And we can't tell them either. We can't instruct them in anything. But body count versus money, which one would you go for? Would you do anything like that if it was just about the Benjamins? If it was to make life comfortable for the... So, I mean, she's only in her 20s, so she could have 60 or 70 years, and she's going to be wealthy unless she gets married and the husband divorces her, takes half unless there's a prenup. You know, all that kind of complication. Cuban Pete, I want TBT opinion on it. I haven't seen her in the body of the Kirk tonight. Gavin Davis, did she pay tax on that? Ooh. Curiouser and curiouser. Didn't she try, wasn't it Bonnie Blue that tried to get into Australia and they said, no, sling your hook, behave. Tom Harney's, she used the swords of 1,000 men. Ooh, very good. Tempole Tudor, there's a song. Mad Matt UK 123, body count, never money. Soul Rebel, Terry. Oh, Mr. Wookfin, must be. What's that? I think there's a... hang on, there's a gag here. Mr. Wookfit. Just the chips. Some nights she came back with enough for the street. No, there's a gag or 10 that I could extol. I'm not going to go to it because some people might take offense. Bless them. But I look at the videos that I see online and I just think, how the bloody hell. But if you've got any insight, I'd love to hear from you about it. We're going to talk about pubs and stuff. And then we're going to talk about... knock, knock. Oh, there. Zelensky. Zelensky who? Ah, well, must be peace in Ukraine then. Because have you not noticed that... should we do this now? Yeah, we'll do this now and we'll get to the pubs. Because I just want to sort of make you aware and alert you to what's going on. And I'm sure you're already aware. But it's the timing of it all. Now, I don't know about you. I hardly know what day it is anymore. And I thought today was Sunday. And then I thought, oh, it must be inauguration weekend. Because you know that Nigel Farage is hosting a party post the inaugural celebration for Donald Trump in a very nice hotel. Nigel Farage holding a party for the Donald. And as I was trying to get my bearings on what day it was and where I was, I just thought, what's happened? Israel and Gaza. And then I thought, hang on a second. Didn't Bibi Netanyahu get his doctors, his proctologist, get his finger up his bum? Because you get to a certain time of life, certainly the men, and there you go. Scream if you want to go faster. And Bibi Netanyahu, they were having a look at his prostate. And then nothing, absolutely nothing. Now, either he's dead, which I doubt, or he's buggered off. Because the story could be just a cover story. He might be in South America having his face reconstructed with $110 billion that he got from the Americans. And I just thought there's been nothing. Nothing. There's been nothing from him. He's made no speeches. There's been nothing from the Gazans. There's been nothing from Hamas. There's been nothing. And then they come out today. Not out, just out. And they say, oh, yes, there's going to be peace in Gaza. And you think, hang on a second. There was Bibi Netanyahu threatening the Iranians with all kinds of repercussions. And then he goes and has It must have been the bishop's finger up his bum. That's what it is. That's what the bishop's up to. He's doing the prostrate examinations in the body of the Kirk. So Bibi Netanyahu has been away on health grounds. And then Hamas, who were chucked out of, wasn't it Qatar that Hamas were in? Multi-billionaires, Hamas, the leaders of Hamas, multi-billionaires, weren't even in Gaza. They were in Qatar or the Middle East somewhere. And the Middle East went, lads, here, you can foxtrot Oscar. We've had enough now. Go back to, I know Cuban Pete, thanks for letting me know. And the Gazans were in a right pickle. And now, after the Israeli leaders disappeared and the Hamas leaders were told to get back to Gaza, all of a sudden there's a peace deal. There's going to be, from the 19th, from this coming Sunday, it's a ceasefire agreement, gentleman's handshake. And then you think, well, hang on a second. So President Poopy Pants, Brown Trousers, Joe Brown Trousers, he came out yesterday, not out, that will be his son, Hunter, came out and said, oh, yes, there's going to be peace in Gaza. And we all know that Trump said, day one, January 20th, there will be peace in Israel and Gaza. And if they don't return the hostages, it's all going to go to rat shit in the Middle East. And so all these other people, because history will view it this way, they're trying to get the credit for brokering peace when all that President Brown Trousers could do, Joe Shitty Pants, all he could do was just chuck money at the Israelis. Bibi, how much are you going to give me back? Oh, go on, 100 million. Look, we're giving you 110 billion, man. Give us a few, brown envelope. You can just send it to Hunter via his laptop. He knows where to put it, knows how to put it, seemingly, from the videos I've seen. So they're all trying to claim it when Trump has been saying for 6 months, well, since the beginning of November, I'm now president-elect, there will be peace in Israel and Gaza. Everybody else is trying to claim it. But the timing, January 19th. 10% Biden. Yeah, well, it's 10% Biden, family, OCG, family, via Hunter. And he missed jail by a whisker. And wasn't there a conversation between Brown Trousers and the Donald to say, don't go after me son. Can you not pardon me son? No. After lawfare, after what the left did to the Donald. So that's going on in Israel and Gaza. And when was the last time you heard anything from Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia? When was the last time you heard anything in the reportage? Absolutely zilch. None. And now I'm going to read this to you. It comes from an anonymous contributor who just says, Adrian, Zelensky, that's Volodymyr from Ukraine, is slyly getting his exit plans in place. Ukraine are preparing secretly to hold an election soon. He won't really contest for the presidency and is hoping not to be re-elected, so he can go and pick up his new Bugatti for the missus from France. He can then slope off to London, Cannes or Miami and have Ukraine in the hands of someone who can take the can for losing the war. Of course, deniability. Probably Budanov. He is the appointed son at the moment. Putin won't negotiate until they accept some preconditions to any peace talks. Not a member of NATO seems to be the one that Putin is absolutely, categorically, steadfastly not moving on. And no NATO troops ever in Ukraine. The demilitarization of Ukraine, maybe the term to use. You never know. The Ukraine army may capitulate or collapse before Zelensky can escape with his suitcases full of moolah. The North Koreans, currently captured near Kursk, were actually Tuvan from Tuva, South Siberia. If you go through some of the posts on Twitter about them, it shows they hold Russian passports because they are Siberian, not North Korean. Does that make Zelensky Ukraine intelligence, the CIA and MI5 and MI6 are all racist, not being able to tell one Asian from another. There is that. Kellogg, that's Trump's rep, says it'll take at least 100 days from admin going in till peace talks have any result. Putin may have achieved all the land grab and destruction of Ukraine forces he wants by then. Either way, don't think the end of the war will be at Trump's hands or insistence. Interesting. Thank you to that anonymous contributor. Very interesting. But I've said to you before, Ukraine is the most corrupt country. It's not even in Europe. It's in bloody. Well, technically, it's not Middle East. It's kind of the buffer between sort of Black Sea and the mainland of Europe and a bit of Russia. So if you look at what, and I'll reiterate what I've been saying for 2 years, what we are looking at here are countries that are trying to make themselves energy independent. If you look at what Trump is supposedly going to do, he's saying that we need energy independence. He needs the Panama Canal to run oil and stuff around in the Gulf of America. They need to get the oil and the gas out of the Gulf of Mexico, and they've signed an agreement that the Americans won't drill for oil and gas in the Gulf of Mexico. So what they're going to do is change it to the Gulf of America, and then that way they're not drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, they're drilling in the Gulf of America. Easy, deniability. And then you've got Alaska and Canada and Greenland. They're looking for, America wants to have the energy independence, because energy independence means that you will be able to have all of the data centers to go with AI. You will have crypto, which needs power and energy. And crypto is going to be the transition over the next maybe 5 to 10 years. And I will make this prediction for you now, and you can look at this in 2 or 3 or 4 years. Trump wants to make America the crypto capital of the planet. So that's why they're after energy independence. Wars are going to come to a standstill. Everybody's agreed there's going to be no more wars. And I'll kind of sort of veer off into this insight for you, and I may talk about it at greater length later. But you've got Trump being inaugurated on Monday, January 20th. Now, remember that Washington, D.C. is on the East Coast, and it's 4 or 5 hours. New York's 5 hours behind us, and we are 1 hour behind Switzerland. Sometimes 2. I'm not sure they'll fly into Zurich and get the train up into Davos. I have made that journey many times, obviously for my cheeky little skiing exertion into Cloisters and Davos. Cloisters is better skiing than Davos. When WEF, the World Economic Forum, is on, they all get free passes to go onto the slopes. None of them. No, don't be silly. There's 3,000 delegates at the World Economic Forum. They don't want to go skiing. They want to get the rent boys up from Zurich. It's only a couple of hours. Doesn't take long by train. Oh, did I say that out loud? So you've got Trump being inaugurated this weekend, and on Monday, technically, the World Economic Forum starts a bit on Monday, but gets into full swing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then it's over, and Trump is 6 hours behind Davos. So if he has his inauguration and it's daylight when they have the inauguration, and then there's Farage's party at which Trump is going to make little speeches. He's making little speeches all weekend. He has a rally on the 19th on Sunday. I mean, that boy's got some kahunas. The fact that they wanted to take him out and they wanted to stop him being inaugurated as president, and he's going to do a rally the day before his inauguration. But then again, he's president-elect, so he will get full security from the state. So I know that Trump has been to the World Economic Forum before. I know some of his family have also been to the World Economic Forum before. So it might be that, well, everybody, all his family are going to be at the inauguration. How are they suddenly going to leave 6 hours behind? And then I know Trump has a particular hotel that he likes in Davos. Not going to tell you here. No, don't be silly. And how are they going to do it if he's to go? Now, as I say, when King Charles the Weak was being crowned, his investiture, for months before, they told him he couldn't go skiing. Didn't want him to break any bones, didn't want to injure himself. And this time, his beloved cloisters, he might go there for a couple of days. He could be at WEF. It'll be interesting to see. So what I'm trying to get at is, I doubt there's any royals going to Trump's inauguration, which means that ordinarily it would be the Prime Minister. But but Tuti Akia hasn't been given an invite. So who would it be? The new ambassador to America? Peter Mandelson. Prince of Darkness. He's not got an invite either. He's not going. So at best, we've got the outgoing ambassador to America going to the inauguration. I mean, Trump would be mightily brassed off, but then again, he's not sent the invitations out, has he? So he doesn't get a royal, he doesn't get the prime minister, he gets the ambassador. But all of the important people from around the world that ordinarily would have been at the World Economic Forum on Monday would have gone in on Sunday, ready for meetings and glad hands and connecting with other leaders. As I've told you before, last year, there was, within Davos, they were getting, not the World Economic Forum, but Davos itself, the town, which is not that big. It's only got 2 main streets. In fact, it's probably about the size of Musselburgh, which has 20-odd thousand inhabitants and has just one long main street. A bit like that. And all the high Hegians, to use the Scottish vernacular, will want to be at Trump's inauguration, because they're friends with him now. Again, the royals are friends with him. They've invited him over for another state dinner. So that'll be 2 he's had. He'll end up in a right state. And so who knows whether the most powerful man in the world is going to be at the World Economic Forum next week. I'm not talking Charles the Weak. I'm talking the President of the United States, or how that's going to work. I will be very curious to see how this year's World Economic Forum, which I think is number 51. They had a deal with the town of Davos to hold it in Davos, because the beautiful thing about Davos is so far up the mountains, there's only one road in, one road out, one rail track in, one rail track out, and they can put security either side of the town, and they can make it very, very, very secure for the most powerful in the world. There's never anything happening, or nothing has ever happened in Davos or the World Economic Forum, because it is, the security is so tight. And having been to Davos a few times when the security's been on, well, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we are trying to get something done and to you during WEF week. Can't say anything more than that, I won't. But I'm unsure as the world's most powerful man, not Xi Jinping, but the Donald, will be going to WEF. But I'm sure he will go at some point in the future, because that's where deals are made. Well, you don't think that they start shaking hands and there's no golf course there. None of them go skiing. That's why they give out all these passes to get them on the slopes for the week. And they don't. They're all in the auditorium. As I say, there's 3,000 delegates go to the World Economic Forum. 3,000. So they've got to have at least, so you've got your 3,000 delegates, and then you've got all their add-ons, and you like their entourage, their secretaries, their I don't know whether it's governmental people, ministers. So Davos is a perfect place to hold WEF, because they've got tons and tons and tons of hotel rooms, ordinarily for the skiing season. And or the hiking season when it gets into summer, because, it's up in the mountains, bless them. But knowing Davos the way that I do, I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll bring you daily updates from what's being reported in the newspapers, and I can give you context and understanding. Last year, I was at, I don't have it to hand, but, my, some people think it's the Leeds United hoodie. Some people think it's Fenerbahce, Turkish side's hoodie, but it's actually the Davos Hockey Club, and I was there for a hockey match, which was fantastic. Actually, ice hockey It's I went to a fight and an ice hockey match broke out. It wasn't too much violence in Davos. It was far too genteel for my liking. I do like a bit of a scrap. If you've seen, what was the Paul Newman film about ice hockey? It wasn't Slap. I can't. Oh, but there's a Paul Newman film about hockey, and it's absolutely brilliant because it's true to life. Ice hockey is just violent. And Slapshot. Thank you, Andrew James. So Slapshot's a fabulous film. Thank you, Stuart. It's a fabulous film. And so I went to the Davos Hockey Club, which is, I mean, the auditorium's wonderful, considering, and it was full. I mean, tens of thousands of people were there. So I know enough about Davos and World Economic Forum to be able to update you next week, because they do it in plain sight. They literally release stuff. There's videos come out all over social media, and people go like, "Oh, it's the baddie, it's Klaus Schwab, the Austrian," but it's in plain sight. It literally is in plain sight. You just can't get into Davos unless you've got your name's not on the door. You're not getting in. So let's talk about the great. I will update you all week next week if I can. But the Great British Pub. This is the thing that sort of kicked me in the nuts, and I thought, do you know, some things are sacred, some things are sacrosanct. And I know during lockdown, when we had all the silliness from March 2020, couldn't go to the pub, pubs were on the knees, unlike Starmer. And no, Adrian, don't. Honestly, I'm in my head, I'm egging myself on to tell really naughty gags about politicians. But I think for this evening's live, I should be a little more measured and less potty mouthed, because the swear jar was overflowing last week. The bishop was asking. I just said to him, "Oh, it's the choir boys, Your Eminence." So they're talking about, and I think this is actually PR guff. I think what this government does, and most governments have done, and Rich Boy Sunak did this and used this technique. He would say something that was so contentious that people were like, they would recoil in horror. Oi, 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 what are you doing? What are you doing? Smash the boats, behave, smash the gangs. You're never going to do that. He just was contentious. But all prime ministers are contentious, because what it does is it's like 9/11. It's a good day to bury bad news. So they will use some stuff for moral indignation to get you and I going, "Oi, you're wrongin'. What the bloody hell you doing?" And they go, right, we've got them. Let them just argue about that for 2 or 3 days, and we'll get the bad news that we're not supposed to be letting them know about out of the press. Because that's PR. It's not, PR is not only getting things in the press, PR is also keeping things out of the press. So now we've got this contentious employment bill from Ginger Growler. And in this bill, it's all about free speech. It's no longer free speech. Let me just explain to you. So Angela Rayner's employment bill, it's talking about working environments, and most of the newspapers have jumped on pubs, because that's where we would go. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but pubs have always been the central hub of communities, not necessarily for, just getting absolutely shitted. It's there for meeting people. We then had gastro pubs, so people would go for a meal and a pint. It's somewhere where you can go with your partner or your pals or your friends and just sit down and just have a, again, good Scottish word, blether. You can tell I lived up there for too many years. And this free speech, it's not a free speech bill per se, it's an employment bill. And in essence, it's your words offend me at my place of work. I mean, as I said about Bonnie Blue and Gen Z, they're all saying, "Oh, you've offended me." What? You've offended me. You've said contentious things that are offensive to me. Mate, shall we go out into the car park like men and sort it out? I've offended you. Yeah, utter wrong. Come on, car park. So the intention of Ginger Growler's bill is to stop harassment in the workplace. So me sitting down with my mates and talking about, don't talk about religion or politics because somebody somewhere is going to take offence. But you talk about some stuff, and that's how you get or in my experience, that's how you get to grips with contentious subjects. You go with your mates, you talk about the footy, you talk about this, 2 or 3 pints in, you're starting to get a little bit deeper, and you're starting to talk about life, the universe, and everything, but you sort it out in the pub over a few jars. And because Double D behind the bar, or mine host, the landlord, oh, you've offended me. What do you mean? I'm sitting here having a beer. I'm buying your beer. Some of them are £10 a pint. Certainly in London. Last time I went down to King's Cross, £10 a pint. Jesus, at least Dick Turpin wore a mask. And you sit there with your mates, just having a bit of a... And one of your mates might go, yeah, but what about this? Have you thought about this? And then another one of my mates would go, yeah, I get that, but have you thought about this? And you kind of work it out as a collective. But the intention of Angela Rayner's employment bill is to stop harassment at work, in the workplace. So you can't discuss contentious issues in case somebody overhears it. Yeah, PT Ham, I've been in some cowboy fights where at the end of the night, one guy's gone up to another guy going, do you think you're taking her home? And the second guy's going, well, yeah, of course, I'm with her tonight. No, you're not. Bang! It all kicks off. Proper cowboy fights. You don't see them on the telly anymore. It's handbags at dawn. So if you can't discuss contentious issues in case someone overhears it, what can you do? They're saying unwanted conduct so the wording of the bill, let me explain it to you. This is Angela Rayner's employment bill. Unwanted conduct that has the purpose or effect of violating the recipient's dignity or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment. A body burp will do that. That'll make it noxious and offensive. Are they going to turn around and say, well, we've stopped you from talking about contentious issues. You can't stick a bung up your backside before you go to the pub. Especially if it's a wet one. So I'll read that to you again. Unwanted conduct that has the purpose or effect of violating the recipient's dignity or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment. I mean, they're talking about bullying and harassment from your words, just talking with your mates or talking with someone or a stranger that you meet in the bar. Sometimes you get going into a great conversation with somebody that you don't know. But my take on this, it's this legal speak. It's this grey area. Because what the legal profession do is they create a moral vacuum. And if there's a moral vacuum, the legal profession make money. So I'll give you these words again. The recipient's dignity or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment. Now that is open to interpretation. That's why barristers and lawyers write this stuff. Because A, it's a moral vacuum, and B, it can be interpreted 6 ways. That's what it's about. It's about having another law where the legal profession can grift and make money, in my view. As I say, the wording of this, you can tell it's been written by the legal industry. It's not black or white, it's grey and liable for complete interpretation. So that's how the legal profession makes money. The barristers can argue this all day and make obscene amounts of money. And it doesn't matter whether you're found guilty or innocent, or whether the person thought it was offensive or not, so long as the legal industry is making money from laws that are vague at best. That's all they're after. So I would suggest to you, it's 2025, Some of the laws have been on the statute books for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Magna Carta was, what, the 1200s? So you're talking about 800 to 900 years for the Magna Carta, and that gave us some kind of legislation and guidance. But are they taking any notice of it? No, don't be stupid. Even the kings don't adhere to it. I mean, you know why Blackrod goes into the chamber of the Commons, don't you? Because the king is not allowed into the chamber. He is not under any circumstance allowed in the chamber. So they have somewhere where Charles the Weak and his missus, the Queen Consort, will sit together, and that's why they come in and stand there in front of the king. And there is a Magna Carta to the king's right hand in that changing room for the king, and the changing room is massive. It's not like a changing room you would have at home where you couldn't swing a cat. This is like the size of 3 football fields. A joke, and I'm embellishing, but it is. So what I would suggest we have in this country, and that's why I've mentioned in previous lives, where we've not had someone as a leader, Tony Blair, Anthony Charles Linton Blair, Google it, Bow Street Magistrates. He was not a leader. Thatcher was a leader of sorts, but had to kowtow. She was not in charge. The men in the shadows, the 1922 committee were in charge, are in charge, still in charge. So it's almost as if people believe that this presidential race for the politicians to become prime minister, thereby president of the United Kingdom, that's not ever going to happen. So this is what I suggest. I don't hear anybody else looking for a solution to these craven idiots in the Houses of Parliament and to a certain extent in the House of Lords. Why don't we have a complete overhaul of judges, courts, legal profession at every level? Let's do away with anything that we can do away with and have sentient AI oversee the legal profession. Don't cost anything, wouldn't cost anything. And if, say, you and I had a dispute, we could turn around and say, well, let's have an adjudication by AI. They've got this large language model, and they can look at all the legal books. They understand all the legal books. They've got it within their ability. And they can say whether the law finds in favour of. We don't need judges. We don't need kiddie-fiddling judges. We don't need judges that allow... in York the other day, I was going to make a video on this. In York, a shop owner, Pakistani shop owner, had some of the worst images of CSA. Child, you know what the middle word is? Abuse. A grade, the worst. And he had thousands of them on his phone. And his brief argued that he owned 3 shops, had 30 staff, so that if he went to jail, it would affect 30 people. He got off. He didn't get off, but he's got to sign the sex offenders register and got off from going to jail. No. I think as a country, instead of sending £3 billion a year to Ukraine, £11.5 billion for climate change in bloody Africa, and any amount of the aid that we send abroad, keep it in this country, build the jails, build as many as you want, and then jail these perpetrators of filth. It's really simple. I bet you didn't see that story in any of the dailies because they didn't report it. I know they didn't report it because I didn't get it out of the daily newspapers. But it was reported in York. Yet again, another northern town. But this time it was images. But the images were, and some of the videos were horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And I'm not going to go into detail because it doesn't, I don't need to. But I would suggest that we revise the laws so this amorphous mass that's called the legal profession Judges, lawyers, barristers, the courts, the legal profession of every level needs to be looked at and simplified. The laws need to be revised to be simpler and clearer and have more direction of travel, so they're black and white, not grey, and more effective for the perpetrators and the victims to be given some succor. This is what we need. We need a leader but we won't, because the Commons is absolutely chock full of this filth. It's chock full of barristers and legal people and judges who don't want to work a day in their life. But if we made the laws and the judiciary simpler, black and white, if it's this, it's this, if it's that, it's that, and there's no ne'er the twain shall meet, to use an old phrase. So we should completely overhaul the legal profession. We should revise laws of the land to be simpler and more effective, and have someone lead us, not manage us. And I'm afraid they won't. They will eviscerate any chance or anybody that wants to do that. Why? Because it would affect their ability to make huge amounts of money. Because the reason why you go to the legal profession is because you don't understand or don't know the law. So you go to someone who might be very charming and very appealing on face value, and then thousands of pounds in, they go, well, you've not really got a great chance of winning. The legal profession is legalised extortion. That's all it is. And there's tons of them in the Houses of Commons and Parliament and Lords. So we need to stop that. I would suggest we overhaul the system and we revise the laws of this land. And the reason why I mention revising the laws is next Monday, it's the 24th. Next week, the 24th of January, there is in fact, I'll do a bit on Sunday about it, but there's a second reading of a law going through Parliament next week, and they are literally going to squeeze the life out of you. They're not mucking about. Look, these people that are in there are evil. They are evil. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to squeeze the life out of you. CAN, it's an environment bill. Care of, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's CAN, 24th of January. They're doing the second reading in the House of Commons, and it's literally so that you lose some of your rights and freedoms. But I'll do something on Sunday about it. I wanted to talk about the Royals tonight, primarily because Lauren Taylor, Keir Starmer QC, at that point he was QC, he would be a KC now. Tax regulation 2013, you couldn't make it up. What did he do in 2013, Lauren? Tell you what, the problem is, regardless of how well-intentioned people will amend the legal system to suit their aims, 4 legs, good. 2 legs, bad. Anyone? I agree with you, Terry. And Andy H, utopia. Of course it would be, but it's the will of the people. So when they... Look, it's only taken 6 months for the people to go, whoa, 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 hang on a second. You are making such a mess of this. This Labour Party is not fit for purpose. It's not fit for power. It's not fit for anything, because we can see right through you. All your free. Look at PMQs today. Nice suit he had on. Who paid for that? Lord Ali. And then you've got Ginger Growler sitting next to him. She's always in bloody green. What is she, Irish? And leprechaun? And she's sort of sitting there and you think, all of them have got clothes on them that's been bought by somebody else. So what do they get in return? We know that Lord Ali may as well have had keys to number 10, could go in and out anytime he wants. And I'm talking about the doors of number 10, you dirty tart. Martine, Climate and Nature Bill. Thank you, Martine. That's it. CAN, Climate and Nature Bill. And there's stuff in that Climate and Nature Bill that they literally going to strangle you with. Metaphorically, of course. But They're not going to allow you to do certain things. And it's in the second reading. You didn't even know that that was going through the Houses of Parliament. And it's now that, I know that they make it boring and confusing to make sure that you are not engaged by the political process. But it's this political process that they are literally shafting you, your family, your kids, your grandkids. You will own nothing and be happy. And that's where they're going. That's why he wants to be in Davos next week. And I'll tell you whether he's there or not, because it will be reported. The press kowtow to him. But if I find out, you'll be the first to know. But thank you, Martine. So the Royals, I wanted to, as I've said many times, it costs me a fortune, but there's an advantage to it. I buy the newspapers every day. And the reason why I buy the newspapers is just to see, A, how they're writing the news, as in what angle. So you know the Guardian and the Daily Mirror are going to be left-wing, maybe a bit of Observer. But you know that the Daily Mail used to be the Sun, the Tory Graph, they're going to be slightly more right-wing. They're going to have different angles to come at particular stories. But now it's the same angle, the same stories in every which way. And I've got newspapers going back a couple of years since the beginning of the channel. So I can speak with authority and tell you, you know, the Royals, you know, today, let's have a look at the, that's a good enough headline. Kate, I'm in remission. So firstly, it's Catherine, Princess of Wales, but they have to shorten it so they can get the headline in. And secondly, she's not in remission. They told us she had precancerous cells. Remember that? In the very early days, they were playing fast and loose with accuracy and detail. And they told us she went in for an operation, and some of us know that there was an emergency from Windsor Castle, and there was something or someone was blue lighted from one of the castles, one of the royal residencies, to a local hospital around Christmas last year. That was kept quiet. Very quiet. And then Charles comes out. Not out. Charles the Weak says, I've got cancer. And then Catherine, Princess of Wales, says, well, I've had an operation, I've had a procedure, and they found precancerous cells. And now she says, I'm in remission. So which one's the lie? Seriously, I'm asking you. Which one is the lie? We can be more gentle about it and say which one is the untruth, but I'm a bit more straight talking. Which one's the lie? Is she in remission or not? If she's in remission, she's had cancer. But they told us there were precancerous cells. And they maintained that narrative for months and months and months. They even had a Royal Protection Squad who looked like Catherine, Princess of Wales, and William, Prince of Wales, go to the local farm shop. That was not them. And then we had that AI debacle around her and the kids. Too many fingers. Almost like a car that had been cut and shut. And they expect us to believe this guff. I'm sorry. I know what my eyes see. I know what is reported in the newspaper because I keep them. And maybe over the next couple of days, I'll have a look at what they actually told us in December, January and February of 2023 and 2024. Because it's not that she had cancer. It was that she had precancerous cells. So the headline today, I'll show you it again. It's on the front page of all the newspapers. Kate, I'm in remission. So either they're lying about that to keep something else off the front pages, or they were lying about the precancerous cells. But either way, there's not two truths there. There's one truth and one lie. So I'm not buying it. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . But they won't come out and tell us. Let's look at the disaster tourists, Meghan and Harry. I mean, it's just... There's a lot of love for Catherine, Princess of Wales, and William, Prince of Wales. There's a lot of love for the family and the kids, but I'm not so sure about Charles the Weak and the Queen Consort. I'm not sure, because there's still a lot of love for Diana in the country, and some people still are not happy that Camilla is Queen Consort. Queen Elizabeth II was very happy for her to be called Queen Consort. But Charlie changed it. Charles the Weak. Oh, bloody thing. Bloody thing. And then the two numpties in Montecito, disaster tourists, Meghan and Harry. I was looking at the newspapers the other day. I mean, it's an awful thing that's happened in California. And then Meghan's cuddling a member of staff, but looking as if she's gone to the locals in California where the wildfires have been and is comforting some of the Hollywood elite. No? I mean, Harry knew what was going on. He knew there was a camera there. He knew what the camera was shooting. But I noticed a very unusual ring on Meghan's finger. It's not the original wedding or engagement ring. It's kind of one of those bespoke things that she had done afterwards. Because obviously, young Harold, if you want that sucking, you better buy me a new ring. And don't be sitting there fingering my ring in public. But TMZ today said Meghan and Harry are no better than ambulance chasers. They're not really that well liked, are they? If TMZ are coming out, and they know what's what, TMZ in California, if they're calling Meghan and Harry, and I quote, no better than ambulance chasers, I don't know what reason they're getting a tour of what is going on, because the security, it's very dangerous in California currently. The winds and the wildfires are still ongoing. It's very dangerous. But how can they go where even the people whose houses have burned down can't get into because the police and the emergency services will stop them, yet Meghan gets in to give somebody a cuddle? What purpose? Well, we know what the purpose is. They're bloody disaster tourists just getting their 5 minutes so that they have decent PR and look a certain way. Even the homeowners couldn't get in there, but it was enough for Meghan to get a shot of her giving somebody a cuddle. I don't know whether the royal family, because I kind of said this on Sunday, I'm looking at the royal family now, and because I've got all this huge amount of newspapers that I've kept, I can see the same stories in the same way, just same shit, different day. And the newspapers are playing along with this. So I'm going to have a look at the newspapers from earlier in the year when I get time. And we'll show you the headlines and the reportage. I can show you the words printed in the newspapers, precancerous cells. I can show you the newspapers printing the stories of, the kids and it being photoshopped, and then the excuse, oh, well, Catherine's an amateur, but she gave it a good go. What? This is a bloodline that's richer than you can imagine, and they can have any amount of people, staff, just doing their bidding. And then we had the AI sitting on the bench. Now, I don't know whether they're having fun at our expense and they think it's jolly japes. See whether the thickos actually get it or understand what's going on. But we do. All because of March 2020. Because we were told you're going to be locked down for a couple of weeks, maybe 6 weeks at most. Ended up being 2 years. People's mental health were affected. Those that were trying to do the right thing did the right thing and now have serious health issues. So forgive me for being a cynical old tart, But I don't believe a word that comes out of the press or the media. Not one single solitary word. The only thing I believe, and I've said this a million times, is the price on the front of a newspaper. So I'm going to go through my archive. But I'm unusual because I keep this archive. And I keep this archive for this very reason. So I can say, that's bullshit, that's bullshit, that is bullshit. There goes the swear box again. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think Sir Keir Starmer hates this country? Let's have a vote. It's going to be 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you think that Sir Keir Starmer hates this country? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Because I'm going to go into some detail now. Does, in your view, Sir Keir Starmer hate this country? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Because I was wondering today, how much actually does Sir Keir Starmer hate this country? And I'll tell you why I thought that. Remember, how much do you think that Keir Starmer hates this country? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Because now we still prosecute our soldiers and we are now rewarding terrorists. Remember the IRA man, Jerry Adams? They're talking about repealing certain laws. And it will end up with him and possibly 400 others, alleged terrorists, will be given compensation. The IRA always said that they were at war. And the only way that the troubles in Northern Ireland were stopped was by giving Martin McGuinness and Jerry Adams MP status and an MP's wage. In essence, they were bought off. Now, the grunts at lower level of any paramilitary organisation, they weren't given such epithets and rewards. So let's just look at it this way. The taxpayer, that's me and you. Remember that the government of this land is spending money that's mine and yours because we pay our taxes. We have no choice around our taxes, but they just waste it on frippery and stuff that they actually believe will make them money. So the taxpayer-funded compensation to a rumoured 400 IRA detainees for their detention in the 70s. Our Attorney General was actually Jerry Adams' lawyer back in the day. So there is a question that needs to be answered. Will our Attorney General actually be paid when Adams gets his compensation, if he gets his compensation? Starmer's repealing the Troubles legislation. Now, I wouldn't repeal the law, but you know what Free Geir Starmer's all about? I would give them one condition. Where is Captain Robert Bob Nairak's body? I'm being facetious because I know where the body is. Can you remember the 19th of March 1988 on TV? Now, back in the 70s, the IRA was squealing like stuck pigs. They were saying that the British government had put the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland. And I've said to you that the elite and the political classes always want deniability. So they didn't have the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland. They trained people to SAS level, but never badged them to the regiment. They were called 14 Int. And 14 Int was on the streets. IRA knew, British government knew, And the reason why I asked you to remember the 19th of March 1988, Corporal Derek Wood, 24 years old, and Corporal David Howes, 23 years old, although they genuinely look a lot older. They were 14 int. And one of the lads was leaving to come back to the mainland, and one of the lads had just arrived out there. So the one that had been out there quite a while, I think it was Derek Wood, he was taking David Howes around, showing him, and they got lost in an IRA funeral procession. Remember? They were dragged out of the cars, beaten, killed. There was a helicopter above it, watching it all, recording it all. And from people in the military, they've told me they've seen the video. But you won't know Captain Bob Nyrak's story. Captain Bob Nyrak was 14 int. And Bob and others were doing what Bob and others did. They were looking for intelligence to pass to their handlers and the British government, or thereby the British government. And maybe I'll get someone from 14 int to come on the channel, the show, and talk to me about it. There is a book about it. But I know, and I can't say how, and I can't say why, but I can tell you that the book is not quite accurate enough. Because Bob got into a fight in a pub in the Borders. There is a BBC documentary so the word went out from the paramilitaries. There's British squaddies in the pub. So the word went out. So they went out. Thank you, Terry. You and I need to have a discussion, because you know stuff and I definitely know stuff. And let's see if they match. But so Bob Nyrak went out and was in a pub, and the word went out from the pub to some very bad men. And the bad men turned up. Now, the bad men left after Bob Nyrak was killed and went to America. And they were interviewed in this documentary that I've seen on the BBC. It's a very honest documentary. And the people that turned up weren't proud of what happened that night. But it was a fight to the death in the car park. The reason why the government keep asking for Bob Nyrak's body, Captain Robert Nyrak's body, is because the IRA fed it to the pigs. It doesn't exist. And that's why the IRA can't give up the body. So if the paramilitaries back in the day thought it was war, they took every which way, because it was a war of sorts, in my view. But this documentary on the BBC is very, very powerful. So there are things on both sides. So as I say, Sir Keir Starmer somehow is forgetting about the atrocities that happened on this mainland, as well as to the army and the squaddies that lost their lives in the Troubles, as they call them. But there were pub bombs on the mainland. Remember the Hyde Park bombing? Squaddies lost their lives. Horses lost their lives. Remember the Birmingham pub bombings? How can Sir Keir Starmer just, as I've said earlier, play fast and loose with the laws of this land? Well, not the laws of the land, but the collective memory of this sceptred isle. I'm old enough to remember. I've got a long enough memory. Terry says, wasn't the first, won't be the last. I agree. But you see, they never tell people the truth. So every time you see it in the newspapers that the British government are asking the Irish government and or the paramilitaries, can we have Captain Robert Nairak's body, please, to give him a decent burial? They haven't got it. The pigs have eaten it. And pigs will eat every part of a human being except the teeth. It's a dirty war. Terry says, got a mate who was CID up here. When they reopened the case of Arlene Fraser, he spent 3 days on his hands and knees wading through pig shit looking for little bits of bone. I know. But you see, the press don't want you to get a sense of truth. They don't want you to understand and have context. And although we're told by various reporting, and to give the BBC its due, I mean, I know there's a lot wrong with it, but some of the reporting of the Troubles and the stories from the island of Ireland and the Northern Ireland are extraordinary. And some of the confessions of some of the old boys that were involved, and a lot of them are falling off their perch now. A lot in 5 or 10 years, there'll be nobody left that was involved in the Troubles. First-hand experience. But Starmer, 400 IRA detainees being given compensation, including possibly Jerry Adams. It's almost as if, in my view, he doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care what I think. He just doesn't care. He thinks it's a cut and thrust of politics. Yet, actually, this has affected and will affect real human beings. It may be family members. It might actually be you. You could have been in Northern Ireland for a time. Some squaddies did multiple tours of Northern Ireland, and some come back with harrowing stories. And for Starmer just to kind of not respect that, not respect the lives that were lost on both sides, but actually just saying, we'll give compensation. Why now? Is it because there are lawyers or barristers making money out of this? Is the Attorney General going to make any money out of this? That's obscene. It's tawdry and obscene. As I say, Corporal Derek Wood and David Howes, the one that was had been there for a while, thought it would be a good idea to take the newbie out and show him the ropes, show him the area, because he'd only landed like a day or two. So he was just taking him out to give him a show round, and then got caught up in the IRA funeral. So why is it coming up for compensation now? Not this particular incident, but those IRA detainees from the 70s. This was March 1988. To be measured about this, I've said to you that there were losses on both sides. But it seems that only one side's getting compensation, and yet our squaddies are being persecuted and prosecuted. And the terrorists or perceived terrorists are getting compensation. I look at Sir Keir Starmer now, and he literally makes me want to vomit. This is not intellectual rigor. This is not him knowing the law and deciding that somebody has been wronged. There have been people from the British Army that have been murdered by IRA terrorists, and that's the only word that I feel is applicable. And yet Starmer is playing God? No. Kemi Badenoch at PMQs today. Not great. She's not very strong. Takes about 20 minutes to make a point. But it's the usual scripts. If you watch PMQs, Badenoch had 3 open goals today with Sir Keir Starmer. And it's this... You know when we were kids and we would be in school, and the school bullies were always just laughing and thought they were Johnny Big Bollocks? Or maybe you were the bully. the Labour front bench were just, it's almost as if they have no heart. They're evil. And they don't get, A, what they're doing to the country, B, what they're doing to us, and ultimately, C, what they're doing to themselves. Kemi Badenoch had an opportunity today. Free Keir Starmer is on the ropes. How he's going to survive as PM, I have no idea. I don't think he will. I think he's done for, and he's been done for a while. I know that Labour is racist. I know that Labour is an anti-Semitic party, and yet Starmer is married to a Jewish lady. They've got Jewish children. He takes from Friday evening when Shabbat comes in for the whole of Saturday, and yet the Labour Party is anti-Semitic. How on earth does that work? I have no idea. Now, Kemi Badenoch had 3 open goals today. Open goal number 1, the economy is crashing. Everybody around the world is laughing at Keir Starmer, is laughing from Rachel from complaints. Laughing. The government is now selling off British sovereignty. Chagos Islands. And do you know that they can't do anything with that until Donald Trump decides? I mean, how insignificant must Sir Keir Starmer be? You can't do what you want to do until the big lad, the Donald, says whether you can or can't. He's got to sign it off. Starmer he's a nobody. And I will say this to you. So that's the first 2 open goals. Selling off the Chagos Islands. And thank you, Stuart. And he's got to wait until the Donald gets into power. Nobody is talking about the Pakistani rape gangs. Why isn't Kemi Badenoch getting right into the ribs of Sir Keir Starmer, saying, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you doing something about this? Why aren't you doing anything in Oldham? Well, you know, what's her face? Ginger Growler. She's from Greater Manchester. Why aren't you doing anything? And finally, so there was 4 goals, not necessarily 3. But the Pakistani rape gangs, they're calling them grooming gangs because that vernacular is a little more gentle. They're rapists. Possibly 250,000 victims. Possibly the greatest scandal in the history of this Sceptred Isle. And he's not saying anything? And what about paying terrorist Jerry Adams compensation? She could have had a field day with him today. She could have made his derriere put like a rabbit's nose. 50p sixpence, 50p sixpence. And she didn't. It's the usual script. Nobody listens. And there was a point where everybody was laughing at the Labour Party. So there's no national inquiry into the rape gangs. Sir Keir Starmer knowingly appointed a convicted fraudster to his ministerial cabinet. The corruption minister resigns. Why? Over corruption. I mean, you can't make this up. So he personally appointed the corruption minister, and she had to resign at R4 yesterday afternoon because of corruption. And then he's selling Chagos. And I can't work this out. If we're giving them away or even selling Chagos, and we've got to wait for Donald Trump to say yay or nay whether that can because of the military significance of the Chagos Islands, we're paying them to take them away from us. Who's making the bloody money? Whose trouser pocket is that money going into? Who is taking the backhanders? Who is taking the large ones? Who is taking the brown envelopes? Who is taking the money? So, bad knock, taxes up, borrowings up, mortgages are up, growth down, business confidence down, all while these clowns are trying to be funny. I've told you before, barristers and lawyers don't have a personality. They don't. They're not funny. They're about as funny as a kick in the nuts. That's not... Look, they don't go into being a barrister or into law because they're very, very funny. If they did that and recognised they were funny, they'd be on the stage telling gags. They'd be Peter Kay or Ricky Gervais. And that's why Peter Kay and Ricky Gervais are not barristers. It takes a certain je ne sais quoi. But I will tell you, Starmer is driving the death nail into the coffin of politics. And let me explain why. You know, those voters that have never voted? Well, they deserve what they get. But those that are not necessarily politically active, but have got a bit in ear, they've seen what the Labour Party has done this time in just 6 months. They've seen what's happened to the Tory party for the previous 14 years. And I will tell you now, that's why Reform will get into power. Whether it's the right thing or not, that's open for debate. Whether Elon Musk genuinely thinks that Nigel Farage doesn't have what it takes, or does have what he takes. What's going to happen in this country? They're going to get rid of the Tories. The Tories are never going to get back into power. Never, ever, ever. Unless they join forces with Farage and Reform UK. The Labour Party, they're done. They're finished. That political party is absolutely over, because not only did we see what Tony Blair did and his ministers, and Gordon Brown do and his ministers, and now Sir Keir Starmer do and his ministers, they're never getting back into power, because the people that do vote know that they can never vote for them ever again. So we know which way the general election is going to go when it comes. But I have told you this. If the Labour Party, and there's lots of infighting going on at the moment, I've told you that number 10 is toxic. The reason why that they are biding their time, and I've repeatedly told you that they used Starmer to get into power, and once they were in power, they're going to get rid of Starmer, and that's the process that we're observing now. But they're never going to get into power. They're never going to get 2 terms. Never. Because the electorate can't trust them. And the whole world is moving on now. And do you know, if the Donald makes a fist of being president of the United States for the 2nd term and actually turns America around for the benefit of the American taxpayers and the Americans that are there, and starts deporting people if that's what they want to do, and genuinely do start to deport people, but they get America back on its feet again after being shafted by President Brown Trousers and his ilk, by all the corrupt politicians who seemingly on $160,000 or $70,000 a year walk out of their political career with tens of millions in their trouser pockets. How the bloody hell does that work? Have they got some kind of magic formula where it's bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, and I'll put $1 in, give me $1 million back? Those voters that never voted, be careful what you wish for. Those voters that voted for Labour, you're now getting what you wished for. And those of us that didn't vote for Labour, who knew what happened the last time Labour got in, and knew what was going to happen this time when Labour got in, and I kept telling you, is he scaring you yet? Sir Keir Starmer, is he scaring you yet? I could see it by a country mile away. I could smell that man's bullshit at 5 miles. His lies. And even the media were telling you he's lying, he's lying, he's lying, he's lying. And there's 1,000,001 examples of him lying. I only have to give you one. Waspy women. Ooh. How that story's been squashed. So, you reap what your non-voting sowed. Do you watch on in horror now? Or are you too busy shagging your cousins? Can you not see? You have elected a shower of murderous traitors. Have you not noticed that you have elected, and I'm using the you as a collective here. I know that there's a lot of people that didn't vote for Labour that watch this channel. But the people that voted for Labour voted for a shower of murderous traitors, Manchurian candidates. Rachel, from complaints, went to China and shook hands with President Xi Jinping and only got 600 million. The Chinese were laughing in her face. Oh, give us some more money, man. Give us some more money, man. They didn't tell you how that money was made up. No. Manchurian candidates. Politicians acting on behalf of a foreign power or an outside influence. They're all Manchurian candidates. Has anyone told you that Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, had a grandfather in the IRA? Meanwhile, the post office victims have not received their compensation yet, and yet Starmer is saying that terrorists can have compensation that were detained in the 70s. And yet the post office scandal, the post office victim, some of which that committed suicide. Just remember the secret of comedy. Timing. Let me give you some background to WEF, because it's coming up. There will be stuff in the papers, but I want to... I just want to give you some context and insight. So WEF starts next Tuesday. It's days away. Nobody's talking about it, because nobody knows. They've never been. So what is it? The World Economic Forum had a 50-year agreement, contract, with the town of Davos. And that contract was completed in 2024. Don't know whether they've got another 50 years, but we've had a 50-year agreement with the town of Davos. So who's going there? Rachel from Complaints is going. Oh, fan my brow. How does that work then? So Rachel from Complaints is going to the WEF next week. And I will also tell you this. If you think the 3,000 delegates that go to the World Economic Forum pay for it out of their own pocket, give your head a wobble. The taxpayer in this country is paying for, well, Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer and Rachel from Complaints. They don't pay for it. We do! Didn't you know that? Question is Donald and Elon going, oh, I would pay good money for the Donald and, you know, the big beast, the big car that the American president always has at his disposal. And can you imagine the Donald just floating into town, into Davos, and little Keir, because he's only cockeyed. I'm definitely of the opinion that people go into politics because they've got little man syndrome. Same with Sunak. So Starmer. But you know who hasn't been there? Who hasn't been there? Tony Blair has, Gordon Brown has. Most of the Tory, Johnson's been there. So most of the notorious politicians of the last 20 years Well, if you want to go back to 97, nearly 30 years, Blair's been. So what they do is they choose the person that they think is going to have some bearing on a particular country, whether it's France, Germany, UK, Italy, Spain, Portugal, from around the world. But I will tell you who hasn't been there: Nigel Farage. He's not been there. So he's not a weft puppet. That's why they don't want him in power. Behave. Reform UK, all of a sudden they lose control of this sceptred isle. They lose control of the square mile in London. That's where the money is. Knights Templar, that's where the money is. That's where the banking is. They can't lose control of Treasure Island. That's what they call this place. Because they take our eyes out. And that's what's happening with the Labour Party. It doesn't matter about their Marxist ideology. If it affects the man and woman that pay the taxes, then these people, the first rule of government, protect the people. Very quickly, are you aware that Starmer is rumoured to want to get rid of voter ID? Now, if you, I said a moment ago, you just need to watch America to see what this Labour Party are going to do. But the fact is that when Trump was elected in 2016, members of this Labour Party, Ginger Growler, Lammy, Starmer, they weren't very glowing in their response. And the Donald is a genius. He barely sleeps, doesn't forget anything, and he knows what they've done. So the Donald glides into Davos, and can you imagine if little boy Starmer, hello Donald, hello, I've always been a fan. He'll crush him. And Elon, oh, Labour's done. They can make hay while they think the sun's shining, but actually it's an oncoming train in the tunnel. Mix me metaphors. So Starmer's rumoured to want to get rid of voter ID. Oh, why is that then? The same reason that camel toe and brown trousers in America wanted to scrap voter ID and wanted all of these incomers coming into America, because then they would vote for the people that was giving them free money, free houses, free everything, free healthcare, and the American taxpayer couldn't get any of it. That's why they were doing it. So the incoming illegal immigrants can vote to say thank you to the Labour Party for their generosity. I mean, have you tried to get into Costco without any ID on you? So it's amazing. You have to show ID to get into Costco, but not to vote. No, we know when they're at it. So I'm going to ask you a question. Second question of the evening. Do you want voter ID to vote in any kind of election, whether it's local council elections or whether it is the general election? Any kind of vote. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you want voter ID to vote? 1 for yes, 2 for no. The only reason to ban voter ID is to commit voter fraud. Interesting. So you see, what they're going to do is give you a solution to a problem that you didn't know you had. I'm going to say that again. They're going to give you a solution to a problem that you didn't know you had. So you know where they're going to go with this, don't you? They'll say, right, we'll give you voter ID. We're not going to scrap it, because this is how they play the game. We'll keep voter ID, but everyone has to have an individual digital identifier. What we're going to do is we're going to start the little kiddywinks in school, and maybe when they're born, they're going to be given this individual digital identifier for the NHS app. And then they'll spend the next 30, 40, 50 years making sure that everybody has individual digital identifier. As I say, they'll give you a solution to a problem you didn't know that you had. And this is the way that they will, like a pincer movement. They'll do it from the young uns. The old uns will fall off their perch, and the middles will be told this is the reason why you need a voter ID. So they'll give the little uns the individual digital identifier so that they can get into the NHS app. The middles will be the teenagers and early 20s will be given pintmas. They'll be given digital ID so that they can buy alcohol in pubs, the ones where you're not supposed to talk about contentious issues. So they'll get the kids with the NHS app, they'll get the late teens, early 20s and late 20s. Oh, are you sure you're 18? Bloody hell, man, I'm 30 odd. Well, have you got anything to prove that? Well, why would I? Jesus, you don't get these lines in your forehead from being 18. 17. Jackie Glasgow, like in The Prisoner. Oh, you don't there's nothing new, Jackie. There is literally nothing new. So they're going to, they'll squeeze the kids, the teens and the 20s, and then the 30s upwards, they'll say, right, if you want to vote, you're going to need an individual digital identifier. Might happen over 5 or 10 or 15 years, but you can bet your sweet bibby that that's where we're going, and they're going to give you a solution to a problem that you didn't know you had. Question. Have you been asked by your energy supplier to reduce your power usage during peak hours? Because they're at it. They are at it. So I said to you that one of the mistakes that the lettuce Liz Truss made was telling everyone that the power cuts were coming. She wasn't supposed to, because she gave the game away. And now we've only got a week's gas lift. Eat more beans. And now, the energy suppliers are saying to people, can you use your energy at off-peak hours? And they reckon, and I quote, it's to reduce the chance of power cuts. They're calling them blackouts. And there is a reason why the last live I told you about Liz Truss and what she said and what she did. Because they're going to scare you into possible power cuts. And they're going to scare you into taking smart meters. You wait until the word starts coming out of California about smart meters. You just wait. Like I say, if I was psychic, I wish I could win the bloody lottery every weekend. But can you see how they push the narrative? The lettuce makes a mistake and says it for a few weeks, and then, sorry, right, don't say anything, don't report anything, no. And then, we've only got a week's gas left, so, oh God, we're going to kill all the pensioners off. And now they're saying, use off-peak power. Can you see how the narrative comes out of the mainstream legacy media that's normally full of bullshit? And something came to me today with all this stuff that we've talked about this evening. Didn't that personality-less Prime Minister of ours actually say, when he was elected, he said that his government would be a government of service? I'll repeat that, because I am being facetious. I'm telling you that this clown told you and told me that this government would be a government of service. Who are they servicing? Ginger Growler. Service to whom? Legal profession, perchance? World Economic Forum, perchance? Anyone that doesn't describe themselves as English, perchance? Look, think you're kind of getting it. That Keir Starmer thinks the British are idiots. That can be the only explanation. Out of his utter ineptitude in running this country. I mean, I've decided that I'm not going to be engaged by this idiot anymore, this clown, or this circus of clowns that's called Parliament or the Commons. I'm literally just going to sit there and laugh at them. All day, every day. I'm going to laugh at them. They can do whatever they want. They're not going to break my spirit. I'm an eternal being having a human experience. I don't care when I shuffle off this mortal coil. I'm aware. I'll wear me halo and me wings, play me harp, and look down from me cloud going, he was a fucking idiot. I mean, look at Tulip. Cute name. The corrupt corruption minister. Hand-picked by Starmer the Clown. I think that's a better name, Starmer the Clown. Until she resigned, she was at the heart of an international corruption scandal. They are peddling furiously to make sure that you don't think that all of them are corrupt. It's been shut down now. Nothing more to see here. Move along. And I want to round this particular live off with the story that just made my day. Because there's nought as thick people. So are you aware of the story where this scammer, and I am going to tell you a personal story, this scammer posed as Brad Pitt. So he uses AI to create pictures of Brad Pitt. And he says he's Brad Pitt. And it was a wife of a millionaire. So she's not very happy in her marriage. They're possibly going through a divorce. So this scammer scammed this woman that was going through a divorce, married to a millionaire. Scammed her out of £700,000. She's a 53-year-old French interior designer. They're not giving her real name out because obviously she's highly embarrassed. Seemingly, it was an 18-month relationship and she never met him. And he scammed her out of £700,000 because she thought he was Brad Pitt. She never met him. Now, I'm not quite sure this is her real name, but they're using the name Anne. Not giving you any more details about her. She said, he definitely knew how to talk to a woman. Boy's got skills if he can get 700 grand out and dupe somebody out of 700 grand. And they just took the pictures that he was sending. Using AI, he had pictures of Brad Pitt in a hospital bed. And then, as she was divorcing the hubby, she only worked the scam out when she saw Brad Pitt with his new girlfriend on the telly. So, for some inexplicable reason, I seem to be able to. I think it's integrity because I'm not playing the same games as anybody else. So, I tried online dating, and it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me, and I'll tell you why it wasn't for me. And it has similarities to this story. So, being a cynical old tart and a grumpy old tart and a bit of a straight-talking old tart, I kept getting contacted by these Russian women. And then late one night, I got this woman messaged me and wanted to send me pictures. And I was like, pictures of what? Look, I'm too old a cat to be fucked by a kitten. So I just played along, and she was sending all these pictures, and I was like, every day pictures would arrive, pictures would arrive, pictures would arrive. So I just played along, and I thought, I bet this is some hairy-arsed Russian called Sergey, but I can't work out how they're going to try and get money out of me, but I'll just play along. So it went on for about 3 or 4 weeks, trying to find bits of, I've told you before, when I get these unsolicited phone calls at home, I just play along, I just mouse them. I tell them either my dog's just died, I've just found my dog dead, can I talk to them and keep them online for hours, or I'm just in the middle of having various, indulging in various unnatural sex acts. So I'm a bit of an agent provocateur. So when Sergey, the hairy-arsed Russian, said, I want to come and see you, I was like, I got away in shite, man. So I was like, oh, really? That would be lovely. I said, the airport's not too far from here. Why don't you come? Oh, yeah, well, I don't really have that much money. Here we go. And they said, Sergey, the hairy-arsed Russian, said, well, we've got this travel agency. If you could pay for my flight, it would be about £550. If you could pay for my flight from Russia, I'll come and see you. And I was like, oh, right, how would we do that then? Well, if you contact this email address and you transfer the money to us, then I will be able to book the flight. So that's what they do. That's the scam. Trying to reel you in. And I just said to Sergey, I said, oi, hairy ass, I get the scam. You can Foxtrot Oscar, mate. So I got onto the website and said, look, this is the scam. This is what they do. This is how they do it. And the website come back and went, oh, will you be a moderator? Will you be a moderator? And I was like, moderator of what? And they went, well, if there's all these scams, we don't want innocent people taken for a ride. I was like, oi, I was the innocent person. I saw right through what they were doing. It's easy. Well, not if you're French, not if you're married to a millionaire, not if you think that Brad Pitt's sending you pictures. So I ended up being a moderator for 6 months. And the things that I was doing for that website, for free, of course, but just out of integrity, the Americans seemingly, to show people their personality, just show them the world body parts. So their profile picture would have been, a Richard pic, or would have been a woman naked or something. And you can't do that on a bloody dating site. So I ended up being this kind of arbiter of taste and decency on this website. And at the end, I just went, here, lads, I'm putting far too much effort into your bloody website, and I've not met anybody, so you can off. Fox or Oscar, nearly swore. So now, from my knowledge and experience, no, it wasn't grindy, you tart. No, I have to be very careful here. No, I can't say what I know. I can't. But trust me, I've got stories. If one day that I get chance, I'll tell you. I will tell you. Because I've got stories. And I just, top tip, if you do have a smart meter, get yourself onto your energy company's priority services register, claiming you have medical equipment at home that needs constant supply, even if you haven't. We'll talk about smart meters on Sunday, Terry, because I believe that whatever has happened in California, there will be a link to smart meters. But I don't want to talk about it or say anything until I have the facts to hand. But so my days off, I'm a happily married man now, and I am ever so grateful that I actually met the love of my life near to the end of my life. Because, we mentioned Gen Z at the beginning. I just couldn't be I just couldn't be Gen Z. Jesus H, it would just do my noggin in. So But that story, hairy-arsed Sergei in some deepest, darkest part of Russia was trying to get money out of me. I just laugh, man. I just laugh. And there was a time a few years ago where all these, and this happened to a friend of mine, where these like really good-looking models would be online. And no, it wasn't me. Before you start, genuinely, it was a friend of mine. And he kind of chatted to this model, and he thought this model thought he was attractive. So he's knocking one out on, well, a laptop, iPad or something. And the next thing he knows, he gets an email going, "Gotcha. Right, we've recorded what you were doing, and unless you give us some money, we're going to put it all over the net." I mean, he did go to the police, thankfully, and the police did support and help him. But that was all the rage a few years ago. And look, if they can find a way to get money out of you, they will, these scammers, bless them. But hairy-arsed Sergey didn't get a penny out of me. I just laughed my cap off at them and helped the website to try and stop that kind of scam. I didn't get anything out of it, sadly. Right, I think we'll call it a day at that. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I've enjoyed tonight. We will interact over the next few days. I'm trying to do something around WEF. Hopefully I can give you some insight as to what goes on there, simply because it's in plain sight. It's all in plain sight. But I kind of get that everybody's got a life, everybody's got stuff, and they've got to do stuff, whether it's grandkids, kids, missus, husband, everybody's got stuff. So sometimes, I mean, I feel very privileged that I'm able to read the newspapers, monitor the media, and just see through all the crap. That's why I do it for you, because there is an amount of integrity that is lacking in politics, that's lacking in our leadership, actually is lacking at the upper stratas of society. And that's a very interesting point, Lauren. I'd be 18 again, but only when I was 18 first time around, not now. Yeah, I'd go with that, Lauren. 18, blimey, I was DJing in the nightclubs. I had a fabulous time. But I couldn't now. Gen Z. Body counts. What the bloody hell's that? I mean, I know what it is. I'm just being facetious. But please make sure that you're subscribed. I would like to get to 10,000. I mean, beyond my wildest imaginings. And as I've said to you before, YouTube quote that 99% of YouTube channels don't make 10,000 subs. So I would like to get there eventually. And that's why I continue to bring value to you by monitoring stuff and giving you insight into stuff and hopefully giving you value and entertainment. So thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. Please make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. That's it for another sermon. We return with another live 142 Sunday, 8 p.m. And whatever you do, wherever you go, be well, stay safe, and don't forget the Battenberg.